Alright, this is JBM from VillainNews here, going to give a short discussion on the state of the franchise and the future of this franchise that was created in the late 90s in that boom of H2O, Scream, Urban Legend, The Craft, all those movies, The Skulls. And this was one of the biggest franchises from the late 90s. This is when I first pretty much started watching horror movies. I was around 12, 13 at that age, and they started showing all those movies on Showtime and whatnot. So anyway, fan of the first one, just rewatched the second one with Brandy and Mekhi Phifer, and it is so terrible. The first 30 minutes are just her being traumatized, of course. But anyway, the rest of this movie the rest of this video right here is going to be for people who are familiar with the franchise. I'm going to be going over spoilers. Okay, so fair warning. Watch the movies, then come back to this video so you could hear me talk about the franchise. And so, anyway, so they made the two films in the late 90s, and then in the 2000s horror remake boom, they decided to do I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, a direct-to-DVD one in 06. That was unrelated to the events, different killer, same type of fish hook killer, but anyway, so there was rumors that there was going to be well, let me say this, Scream almost did a direct-to-DVD one during the 2000s either, but they kind of waited it out because that's such a good franchise and so much better villain than this movie. And so anyway, there was rumors, someone, those Wikia pages where people will dedicate it to like a certain franchise, like a comic book or a movie. Well, there's one for I Know What You Did Last Summer, and someone created a whole synopsis and plot of their own ideas called Last Summer 3D, filled with fake, bogus sources, of course. There's no other information on the movie other than on that Wikia page, which means it's bogus, but it gets you thinking that they should resurrect this franchise because, Jennifer Love Hewitt was only like 18, 19 actually when she filmed the movie. She wasn't in her 20s. She's only like 33 right now. She just started a new Lifetime show. Freddie Prinze, he looked like he was about to own the world for a minute there with his run of late 90s and early 2000s movies. After Summer Catch, it pretty much went downhill for him. He hasn't even gotten any roles other than the Scooby-Doo franchise, it seems. And I'm talking mainstream and career thriving. Don't leave a comment saying, hey, he's been in stuff. He's basically been a family man, let's face it. And look at that hair. What the hell was he thinking right there? And anyway, he's in his late 30s. At the end of the second film, it shows them, okay, let's talk about the end of the second. So, the fishhook killer, basically what happened is, in the first film, they ran over a guy, as we know, and they thought it was a good guy that they ran over. But what ended up happening is, the guy that they ran over was a guy who killed the good guy that they thought they killed. It's kind of complicated unless you've seen it, but so anyway, in the second film, that guy comes back to kill him. No, they send him to the Bahamas. It's like the worst script ever. They win like a trip to the Bahamas, even though they're already like in a lake town almost, even though they're in college. She's so traumatized that the opening scene is her in a confessional and she sees Muse Watson across the confessional. Then later on, she sees him in the club like it's Batman the Dark Knight or something, and oh wait, she actually sees the fishhook killer in the club. Anyway, so at the end, Matthew Settle, the guy from Gossip Girl who plays Dan's dad, he ended up being his son, so it was a father-son villain team. And they all both apparently come to their demise at the end of the second film. But it's a horror film, and it's Hollywood, so you could always write them back into the script and say that they actually didn't die. Because at the end, it shows her having a traumatic event, or it could be real life of her getting dragged under the bed like it's an original shot or something, even though it's totally not. Um, Dude, they actually show Brandy working out. It's terrible. In the second film. So anyway, there was a proposed plot that they come back for the 15th anniversary or something, even though that was last year. Actually, even though it was this year, because the first one came out in 2000 or 1997. They all meet up around 4th of July weekend, and obviously the killer comes back for Matthew Settle and Muse Watson, who's like 63 now. I'd love to see that. Better than a remake. If they wait too long, they're probably just gonna remake it. But they should resurrect it. Anyway, shout out to Yovel actress for pointing out this franchise and the potential sequel to come out. But yeah, I watched them all last summer, so then I watched them all again this summer. Actually, I only saw the first one last summer, then I saw the second one this summer. I still have to see the third one. Anyway, I don't know if it's terrible or not. Anyway, this was JBM from VillainNews. Check out more horror movie updates. This is the end of this video now.